Picture this. It's a quiet evening in the heart of Africa. Right above you is this stark, dark navy night sky, just absolutely speckled with stars. And below, sitting perfectly nestled inside a volcanic crater, is a deep, pristine blue tropical lake. All around it, you've got this lush, vibrant green valley that's literally teeming with life. I mean, it's the very definition of a peaceful paradise. But then, completely without warning, the lake releases something. And it's not lava, it's not floodwaters, it's an invisible fog. A silent, creeping mist that just slithers down the hillside and instantly suffocates the entire thriving valley below. Now, I know that sounds exactly like the plot of an atmospheric thriller, right? But this is not fiction. A beautiful lake, an invisible cloud, an entire valley suffocated overnight. That was the horrifying reality of August 21st, 1986, in Cameroon. It honestly remains one of the most mysterious and just jaw-dropping natural disasters in all of recorded history. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unravel the dark, incredibly suspenseful timeline of that fateful night, look at the exact geological mechanism that turned a serene environment into a terrifying trap, and see how humanity eventually fought back. Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly does a peaceful body of water suddenly become a phantom assassin? Well, to understand the sheer scale of this invisible tragedy, we really have to look past that calm surface water and examine what was happening deep beneath the earth. Because the residents of the 3 villages bordering that lake, they went to sleep that night completely unaware that they were living next to a ticking geological time bomb. Magma leaks CO2, deep water traps it, and the pressure builds. This threat had actually been brewing for centuries. Deep beneath the bed of Lake Nyos, volcanic magma was steadily leaking massive amounts of carbon dioxide gas straight into the bottom of the water. Now, if this were a shallow, moving river, that gas would just bubble harmlessly to the surface, dissipate into the air, and that's the end of it. But Lake Nyos was different. It was incredibly deep, and its waters were hauntingly still.
So, the crucial point is this. Think of the immense water pressure on the left as acting exactly like the giant bottle cap on the right. That immense weight was pushing down relentlessly. It was trapping decades upon decades of volcanic carbon dioxide under intense pressure right at the bottom of the lake. The gas was just dissolving into the deep water, quietly concentrating, essentially just waiting for a reason to escape.
Let's look at the timeline. 100 years prior, the gas builds. Decades prior, pressure mounts. And then, August 21st, 1986, at 9 p.m., the trigger pops the cap. For over a century, the tension was mounting. The trap was set. Then on that specific evening, as the clock strikes 9, deep in the dark waters, something disrupts that delicate balance. Scientists believe it was most likely a small underwater landslide, or maybe a minor seismic tremor. But whatever the trigger was, it destabilized the lake. The giant bottle cap was finally popped.
And this brilliantly illustrates what's known as a limnic eruption. It's a highly rare natural disaster where dissolved carbon dioxide suddenly erupts from deep lake waters. See, when that underwater landslide shifted the water, the pressurized gas at the bottom suddenly rushed upward. It essentially turned the entirety of Lake Nyos into a giant exploding bottle of soda that had been violently shaken and just uncapped.
100,000 tons. A massive fountain of water and white foam shot hundreds of feet into the dark navy sky. But surprisingly, the water wasn't the real danger here. Bursting forth from the surface of the lake was a staggering 100,000 tons of highly concentrated carbon dioxide gas. In literally the blink of an eye, the Earth unleashed a massive, suffocating cloud straight into the atmosphere. 150 feet. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't a gas cloud just drift upward and blow away in the wind? Actually, no. Carbon dioxide is significantly heavier than normal air. So instead of rising up into the sky, this colossal release of gas formed a dense, invisible blanket that was an astonishing 150 feet thick. It was heavy, highly concentrated, and totally bound by gravity to sink to the lowest possible elevation. 30 miles per hour. Like an invisible tsunami, this 150-foot-thick wall of carbon dioxide spilled right over the lip of the lake crater. Surging under its own immense weight, it raced down the hillsides at over 30 miles per hour. And remember, it was entirely odorless and completely transparent. It was moving incredibly fast as it poured into those vulnerable valleys below, right where thousands of people were settling in for the night. Displaced all oxygen instantly. Snuffed out cooking fires. Victims lost consciousness in their sleep with zero struggle or sound. The reality of this phantom assassin is truly chilling. As that invisible wave rolled through 3 different villages at 30 miles per hour, It instantly displaced all the breathable air. Cooking fires that were actively burning in the villages were snuffed out in a fraction of a second. Thousands of people, along with their livestock, simply lost consciousness. Because they were starved of oxygen so suddenly, they just passed away in their sleep. No panic, no struggle, not a single sound. The entire valley was quietly, instantly switched off. When the sun rose the next morning, survivors from neighboring, higher elevation areas walked down into a valley that felt entirely frozen in time. The numbers from the aftermath are just staggering. 1,746 people, 3,500 livestock. Signs of trauma? Zero. What made the discovery so deeply uncanny to those first responders was the total lack of violence. Zero property damage. The homes were perfectly intact. The trees were untouched. It was as if a silent spell had been cast over the whole region. The only visual clue to the absolute violence of the previous night was the lake itself. Look at this comparison. Pristine blue waters and lush greens on the left, muddy, iron red, and frozen in time on the right. Those deep blue tropical waters from the day before were just gone. In their place, the lake had turned a deep, muddy iron red. The violent upheaval of the eruption had actually churned up iron-rich sediments from the very bottom of the lake bed, which oxidized at the surface, leaving behind this incredibly eerie, rust-colored scar on the landscape. Taming the killer lake. Let's move to how this builds, because this disaster totally shocked the global scientific community. I mean, they knew they couldn't just leave a loaded geological weapon sitting in the middle of a populated area. Humanity absolutely had to fight back against this silent killer to ensure the heavy waters of Lake Nyos could never again act as a deadly bottle cap. Electronic degassing pipes installed, continuous pumping from the depths, carbon dioxide released safely. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly elegant the engineering fix is. To prevent another limnic eruption, scientists installed massive electronic degassing pipes directly into the lake. These pipes reach all the way down to those high-pressure depths. They continuously pump the carbon dioxide-rich water up to the surface, which allows the gas to be released safely and slowly into the atmosphere in totally harmless amounts. It's essentially a permanent artificial release valve that diffuses the bomb day by day, hour by hour. As we tame Lake Nyos, what other silent, invisible threats are ticking away beneath our feet right now? We successfully tamed the killer lake, taking a terrifying phantom assassin and transforming it back into a peaceful body of water. But, the story of Lake Nyos leaves us with a really haunting reminder of the immense, unseen forces of the natural world. It forces us to ask, as we stand on solid ground, marveling at the beauty of our planet, what other silent, invisible threats might be ticking away deep beneath our feet right this very second? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.